What's the first call you should make if you fall severely behind on your mortgage payments and you get notice that a foreclosure action has started, or maybe you've been sitting on one for a while? Why is this even coming up now, you might say? Well, it's a holiday Monday, and I'm bringing this to you because this Saturday, like 2 days ago, the 15th, the foreclosure moratorium was lifted in New York State. Evictions also, but I'm going to focus on the mortgages for this one because I have a feeling there are a lot of people out there that hopefully are able to watch this who may not realize what their options are. I think you're probably pretty painfully aware of it, that the moratorium ended and that it was not extended. This has been in place since March of 2020. So we're coming back to a regime or a world where evictions happen and mortgage foreclosures happen. In fact, Newsday was reporting that almost 15,000 Long Islanders are severely delinquent on their mortgages, which in servicing world that means 90 days or more delinquent. And I have some stats that they're sad stats. Nassau County, we've got 2.06% of borrowers behind on their mortgage by more than 90 days. Suffolk, it's 2.12%, so a little bit higher. These are more than double what they were before the pandemic. They're not as bad as they were at the peak. So in, let's see, the summer of 2020, we were seeing 6.44% in Nassau and 6.28% in Suffolk. So it's come down, but it's still really high, and it's a scary number for those who are now potentially facing a mortgage foreclosure. So I started this by saying, what's the first call you should make? I mean, this is my opinion, but I think that a lot of people would agree with me. The thing that you don't know necessarily is how much your house is worth and what your equity is, if any, right? So you might be thinking I should call a foreclosure defense lawyer or I should call one of the not-for-profit funds, and those are all fine, but you need to know what your options are. And going on Zillow or trying to get a Zestimate or something like that, that's not going to be good enough here, and there's too much at stake. If you know you have equity, so if you find out that your house is worth more than what you owe to pay off the mortgage and any interest and penalties, now you have options that may be like going back to the 2008 crash where we saw a lot of foreclosures. People didn't have as much equity back then generally, and a lot of those people had no options. They had to walk away and give keys back or do a short sale. Those are still options now if you owe more than the house is worth. But how many times on this series have we talked about how we're seeing, like 10% appreciation a year, and we've got 2 years of that now. So you may have, while you've been waiting to see what would happen with the foreclosure moratorium, if it would get extended, you may have been actually bailed out by the market. Now, that doesn't help you if you have no place that you plan to move or you need to stay locally and prices are high. I realize that, but you are going to have a lot more options, and there's a lot more to fight for if you have equity in the house. You don't want it to just go to a foreclosure auction and let some other bidders and the bank set the terms and have to wait to get any excess equity back. You want to let the market do its thing for you and have a professional guide you on that. Now, that's not the end of it. The other things that I want to make people aware of, if you haven't been trying to get a modification or a forbearance agreement in place, mostly because you didn't have to worry about losing the house, now's the time to contact your lender and talk seriously about that. There's a 539, I want to make sure I have the number right, $539 million homeowner assistance fund that's a federal fund that the state is going to be distributing. The government in New York State is predicting that it's going to fall pretty severely short, and it is a first come, first serve application process. So make sure you get on that. It is open now, and the best thing to do, it's the homeowner assistance fund. It's if you go to the HUD website, or better yet, just Google it, you're probably going to find it a lot easier than if I start putting links up in this. Just keep in mind that these things always come with a lot of scammers. It is free to apply, and it should be a government portal. Don't fall for any scams. Someone who's just saying, apply here and we're going to help you get an application through for this fee, probably a scam. So it's good to look into that, and keep in mind, time is not necessarily against you just because it's been lifted. In particular, if you do get a foreclosure defense attorney on your side, you can push out the date where the sheriff is going to come. It's still a long, drawn out process, and the wheels are just starting to turn again in the foreclosure and housing courts. So keep that in mind. It's not like the sheriff is coming to change locks on you next week. Now is the time to put an action plan in place and get a game plan together. And get time and the market to work on your side. Very happy to talk to anybody about this confidentially. Feel free to DM me if you're seeing this on social media, or you can reply by email if you have my number. Text me, obviously. And yeah, kids are home from school today, so little bit of background noise from my son. But hope everybody enjoyed the good long weekend, and stay dry and warm. Gonna wrap it up there, and we'll leave it until next week or maybe the week after. Hope everybody's having a great January.